Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be looking at the second generation of the Hyundai Kona. One of the most important cars when it comes to Hyundai, as it's one of the best-selling electric cars that they have. This is obviously a B-segment car, so a fairly small compact car, but there are a lot of changes and you can definitely see the design looks completely different than the first generation. We're going to look at all the details that this new car offers and see what has changed. So the starting price of the new Kona Electric is going to start at 41,990 euros. That is with the smaller battery, which has now been upgraded to a 48.4 kilowatts an hour battery. That is upgraded from a previous around 39.2 kilowatts an hour battery. The one right here that we have is going to be the bigger battery, which is now a 65.4 kilowatts an hour battery. And it's going to allow you to get up to a range of around 514 kilometers, depending on which kind of wheels you have on here or rims. We're going to check those out here in a second. You can also see the design on here is different because there are three different variants that you can get. You can get the basic version, you can get the Trend package, which comes with the increased battery size of 65.4 kilowatts an hour, and you can also upgrade to the Prime model that we have right here, which is you're gonna be able to tell that you have that with this the longest LED pixel light that you can get on the market, which actually looks fairly cool in my opinion, and it's one of the highlights from the new Kona Electric second generation, which really makes it stand out in the front. And you can also see the seamless integration of the camera in the front, which looks pretty cool. And in general, I really like the design in the front. The pixel light, obviously that's going to come with the upgraded Prime edition, and how much that's going to cost you. If you get the bigger battery, it's going to cost you 5,700 euros extra. And on top of that, for the Prime, 3,500 euros extra. So right here, this is going to cost you around 55,000 euros for the exact model that we have right here, which basically is everything included. Also, the color on here is the basic color that you get. So you can obviously choose between a couple other colors, but I really like this one. It looks fairly decent. You can also see down here, we do have some intakes in the center here to just cool our batteries as well. So when it comes to charging the car, one thing that Hyundai didn't do is, well, they obviously have the 800 volt technology, but they decided not to put it in the Kona Electric, and this is second generation, due to the fact that it's just because of the cost. So they didn't decide to put that in there. They want to keep the car as cheap as possible. Still a fairly big upgrade when it comes to the cost, almost like 6,000 for the electric second generation now. So a little bit of a cost increase. Like I said, we do have a bigger battery in here. The normal one, that 48.4 kilowatts an hour, is going to be allowing you to charge at 11 kilowatts with a loading time of 4 hours and around 55 minutes. That's how long it's going to take. And from 10 to 80%, it's going to take you around 41 minutes, which is obviously, if you would get the 800 volt technology, that would be a little bit nicer because competitors are going to be able to charge faster. And that's one of the main critique points when it comes to the Hyundai Electric, the Kona Electric. But the bigger battery that we have right in here is going to be allowing you to charge at 11 kilowatts an hour, kilowatts as well. That's going to take around 6 hours and 25 minutes, and now 102 kilowatts, which is going to take you around 41 minutes again to charge it up completely from 10 to 80%. Claimed range for the smaller battery, 377 kilometers, and the bigger one is going to be 514. Because we have 19-inch alloy wheels on here, that is going to upgrade or downgrade the range to 454 kilometers. So let's talk a little bit about the battery and the range as well. So, like I said, because we do have the 19-inch wheels on here, that's going to limit our range down to 454 kilometers instead of 517 kilometers. And we have 74% left of the battery, and you can see 315 kilometers, that is what it's going to give us. If we look at the range on here, we have an average supposed to be, well, this is going to be the best value right there, so 15.6 when it comes to 23 kilometers of driven. These are press cars, so they have been driven a little bit more unlike how you would theoretically drive in the real world. The WLTP claim consumption for the small battery is 14.7. And for the bigger battery, it's going to be between 16.7 down to 14.7. So currently 15.6. That is a fairly good rate. And if you want to increase the range as well, we can theoretically do a full one pedal drive. So you do have the pedals on the side here, and you can increase them on the left, and you can see right down there. We can, if we go into the town, well, if you're in town, we can have this, it's on auto right now, but we could theoretically put it onto iPedal, which is going to be the maximum that you can get. So you have 4 different levels on there, and iPedal is going to give you a full one pedal drive, so it's going to come to a complete stop, which is nice. And it's nice that you can adjust it because that doesn't come with every electric car, so that's always nice to have. You do also have bidirectional loading in here, so you can use it at home, for instance, vehicle to load, which is going to be nice. It does also have the option to use vehicle to grid and vehicle to home. However, in Germany, it's not theoretically allowed yet, but it theoretically is able to do it. So in a previous update, if Germany decides, okay, let's update it, and, well, not update it, but actually allow it, then this car is also going to be able to do that, which is nice to have. Another thing that is new is that you have a new platform on here. So for the Kona, because you do also have the hybrid, the non-hybrid, so the combustion and the electric versions, the platform on here was based on the electric car. So the electric car was built first, and then the other models were built on the platform that was meant for the electric car. So you basically have everything that is same. With our new platform, you get an extended wheelbase, which is now up to 2 meters and 66 centimeters. That's an increase of 6 centimeters. That's going to allow you to get more space in the inside. And because the car is also longer, now up to 4 meters and 35, that's 14.5 or 14.4 centimeters longer than the previous variant, which is quite a lot. So this has grown fairly decently, but that's going to allow you to get bigger trunk space, which is also nice. And one thing we did forget, we'll check that out in a second, we do also have the Frunk in there, which is going to allow you 27 liters. But you can see, you have a lot, the car is generally a lot longer, but you have a lot more space in the interior as well. Let's quickly also check out these alloy wheels. As you can see, those are going to allow you to, well, they're going to decrease the range, like I said, because of the 19-inch wheels, around 60 kilometers less, but that's actually also how quickly they brake. For the brake test, I would expect around a 34-35 meters. It does have disc brakes on the front and also on the back, and it does weigh only 1.8 tons, which is fairly light for an electric car, so it could theoretically stop fairly fast. So let's do it. I know, again, the road is not the best for this, but we're still going to do it because this is the best road we can find. So 100 and... oh, it slides a good amount. 2.9 seconds, not the fastest rate. 37 meters, okay. I mean, the road is a fairly dirty road because this is supposed to be a construction zone, so nobody has driven on here too much. You theoretically, I'd expect around 36, 35, like I said. 34 would be very nice. You could theoretically get that. We'll see what we get in our German test. No. So before we do our 0 to 100 test, let's quickly talk about how much horsepower and newton meters this car has. With the bigger battery and also the 19-inch wheels, we're going to be looking at 0 to 100 in around 8.1 seconds, with the smaller wheels 7.8 seconds. And we have 218 horsepower and 255 newton meters with a front wheel drive. With a smaller battery, you're going to have 156 horsepower with 255 newton meters, and that's going to give you 0 to 101 in 8.8 seconds, also with front wheel drive. I've turned on off traction control and also went into the sport mode, as you can see right down there. And we're going to do it. I know it's not the flattest road, but this is the best we can have because it's a fairly hilly surrounding here. So we have our race box, and let's see what we can get from 0 to 100. It doesn't have that initial kick that you expect, but it picks up later on. So 8.26, so almost what was claimed. So 8.26, not bad. The design language also changed quite a lot on here. As you can see, we got a lot more, well, suede design, a little bit more edgy design. As you can see, the wheel arches are fairly bulky. We got this line running all the way through. Basically, every line connects. This one goes all the way through and intersects right down here, which then also continues going up into the rear here, which looks fairly good in my opinion. And also you can see the chrome touches here. They go all the way back up to the rear spoiler, basically. You can also see we have automatically foldable side mirrors, which are nice. Keyless go in the front, and we also have rear tinted windows, which is pretty cool. And you can see generally a fairly bulky looking design, especially when we come to the back. You can see these lights already down here go fairly far down, and they look, I personally don't like them too much. They just don't fit in there too well. But again, bulky design. And we got a lot of pixel design on here as well. You can see again a big light bar going all the way through with pixels in the middle, which kind of touches onto the Ionic language style, which looks pretty cool. If we take a look at the trunk, because that's one thing that also changed because the car is now longer. And one thing that changed in here is how much storage space you have in here. Around 50 liters or 144 liters extra now because of that extended wheelbase and also the length of the car. So you can now store 466 liters up to 1,500, which is quite a lot. And that was one thing that was a lot of people said previously, the Kona Electric does not have enough space, but the second generation definitely offers a lot more, which is one of the most actually in its segment. And it's also one of the longest car in its segment. Down here we have some extra storage space where you can theoretically put your cables in there. You could theoretically also put them in the front. This would probably fit in there. This bigger box wouldn't fit in there, but in general, good layout. You can obviously flip it out. A little bit more storage space on the side, and also a fairly good high opening trunk. And the other thing that's obviously new, like I already touched on, is the Frunk. The previous one didn't have a Frunk. In here, you can see right here, we do have a 27-liter Frunk space in there. So a little bit you can put your cables in there, most likely. So yeah, that's a nice little touch because that frees up some space in the back. Woo! And a couple of things that actually have changed in the interior is also that you have bigger displays now. Those are 12.25-inch displays, so there's two of them. And this was previously 10.25, so around 2 inches have grown in there, which is always a good growth. And we can also see we still got a lot of controls in here, which I like, so you don't have everything touch sensitive. You actually got a lot of buttons in here. It looks a little bit complicated at first when you look at it, but you got your climate control in here. You got your ventilated heated seats, heated steering, which is pretty cool. And this is also pretty cool that you can change if you just want to charge your phone, or you want to charge it also via USB and charge it wirelessly, which is cool. You can change that, and you have a USB-C in there, and some also a 12 volt or 180 watt, which you can push, and then you can use that as well, and another USB-C in there. Driving modes down here, the one thing you might see is, okay, where is the gear selector? The gear selector went up here, just so you have more space in the center. And the thing I love about the center is these cup holders. Those are just my favorite cup holders if you want to come a little bit closer. Whoopsie, whoopsie, those are just amazing. I love those cup holders, and they're just so practical and easy to use. I almost just crushed that one. But you got a lot of space in here, also down here. Plenty of space, you can take this out, and you got plenty of space in there. So really a spacious interior in here. Heated, ventilated, and also memory function for the driver. Same for the passenger, apart from the memory function and also the relax function, which is nice. And you can definitely see these are definitely ventilated with all those dots in the center. And they are actually fairly comfortable. You can also choose to get white interior. I'm not the biggest fan of a white interior, but it looks okay. When it comes to quality-wise, again, everywhere you touch, you have good quality, but, well, not everywhere you touch, but everywhere your hand is, you have good quality. And one thing I also love is they didn't use piano black, so they used other materials, because I just hate piano black. It looks bad after a while. Steering wheel looks similar to Genesis, Kia, stuff like that, but easy to use and gives you all the relative information. There are no touch-sensitive controls on there as well, which is nice. And infotainment display works well if you've used previous iterations. It's a new layout and also a new software. It also has over-the-air updates now, which is nice, and it's just going to allow you to basically do whatever you want. However, you do not have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wirelessly. I don't know if that might come with a future over-the-air update, but you're going to have to use it via USB or USB-C. You're going to have to connect it via that. In here, we also have a little bit of storage space, which is fairly decent. You can see right in there. And also a little bit of space up here where you can put whatever you want, some pencils or whatever you need up in there. You could also theoretically get a panoramic window, which costs you 700 euros extra. With the extended wheelbase, like I already touched on, you can definitely see we have a lot more space in the interior. It's going to increase your leg room up to 6.6 centimeters, which is quite a lot. So you can definitely see you got plenty of space in here. It's adjusted to me in the front, 1.80 m, 5'11". And headroom also grew by 1.1 centimeter, so that's an important mark. But again, headroom is really good. That's going to allow probably 1.90 m, 6'2", 6'3". People are going to be able to fit in here. We also have the other option, which is going to cost you 1,000 euros extra. That's going to allow you to also have heated seats in the back for both sides, which is nice. And you also get ventilated seats in the front and heated seats, memory function, stuff like that, which we're going to take a look at here in a second. And you can also see that the center seat is fairly tight. So 3 people in here is going to be fairly uncomfortable because it's just fairly small in there. But one thing that's also fairly nice, you can actually flip this down. You have 2 cup holders in here, and if you really want to, you can also, if I find the button, there we go, you can flip the whole thing down. I love when cars have this, because that's going to allow you to just load a lot of stuff in here, go skiing, whatever you want. Isofix points are okay to reach. They are a little bit hard to reach because they are fairly well plugged in there. So a little bit hard to reach. But in general, fairly nice design in the back. We also got climate control in the middle. You can't adjust the temperature in here. We also, one thing that's pretty cool, we actually got a 16 amp charging port on here. So you can plug your laptop in there or anything you want, and 2 USB-Cs. Quality-wise, there's still a lot of hard plastic in here up top. The only thing, well, where they really did good is actually the places where you touch, where you put your hand. That's where not a lot of plastic is. Other than that, you've got a lot of plastic. So one thing I did notice before we start off here, the driving position is actually, this right here is the lowest you can go. And for me, I'm 1.60 m tall. I'm 1.80 m tall, and it's actually still fairly high. I would like to sit a little bit lower, even though I'm going to sit a little bit higher now. But if you're a taller person, this might be a little bit uncomfortable because, well, the headroom is a lot, so you can theoretically still sit in here fairly high. You can also see we do have a heads-up display, but let's actually start the car. So I turn it off, so we can actually drive the car a little bit and talk to you about it. And now while we're backing up here, we can see we do have cameras, which also switch if you go into drive. It is going to switch to the front camera, which is nice to see. And reverse, you're also going to be having your side mirrors fold down, which is also nice to have. You can see we do have a full 360-degree camera, which is always very helpful in the city. Because the car has increased in size a little bit, it's not going to be as practical as it used to be when it comes to driving in the city. But it is still fairly, well, it's not the biggest car, so 4.35 meters is still a good size for a city car, which is nice. When it comes to the surrounding view when driving in the city, I do realize, or one thing I have noticed, is that the deep hill in the back is a fairly big, which is not that nice, so that might be a little bit hindering when you're driving in the city. But other than that, you have a great surrounding view, and with the help of that 360-degree camera and also a lot of assistant features, it's going to be fairly safe to drive in the city. One thing I have noticed about the safety features though is, well, there's actually a couple of interesting ones in here as well. If you go into the setup, we can actually go into the car. Okay, there we go. That's one thing that's also, if you're not looking ahead for a couple of seconds, it's gonna show you that eye symbol, and it's gonna tell you, okay, you're not looking at the road, and it's gonna give that sound. You can go into the drive assists, and we can see we do have a lot of assistance in here, adaptive cruise control. We have safety features when it comes to stepping out, for instance, going to warn you of oncoming cars. You also have blind spot assistance, you have adaptive cruise control, like I said, and generally great assistance with as well the heads-up display, which is going to allow you to have just a great overview of everything that you need, because that's going to show you everything. For instance, when a kid's on right now, we can go 50, even though I'm pretty sure it's 30 in here. Is it not? Must be 30. No, it's 50. Okay, well, he's smarter than me. And like I said, there you go. The car does have a lot of noise to it as well. And one thing, if you want to turn it off, you can turn it off, obviously, but you're gonna have to do that every single time you start the car. So when you turn it off, and you turn off basically if you're going 2 kilometers over speed, here, listen to it. There you go. If you're going a little bit more over than 2 kilometers or 10 kilometers, it's give you that beeping sound. If you want to turn it off, you can turn it off, but you're gonna have to turn it off every single time you start the car again, which is a little bit unfortunate. Steering feel is also fairly nice. You can see it is fairly direct. It does wobble fairly decently, and in general the steering wheel is fairly nice. I like the touch of it. Doesn't feel the highest quality, but still a fairly decent design, and it's actually fairly big. In my opinion, it feels fairly big. Like it's fairly wide, but the buttons on here are easy to reach. You have everything that you need, and you can also we can test the lane centralization to see how well that works. So it's a level 2 autonomous driving, and that looks fairly decent. I only have lane assist on right now, so my pedal I still do that automatically, or not automatically, but manually. But you can hear the assistant features. Those noises are a little bit annoying at times. You can hear right there, 70. If I'm going a little bit too fast, it's going to give that beeping noise. I haven't found the complete option to turn it off completely, but like I said, you have to do it every single time, which is a little bit annoying. We do also have a couple of different drive modes. If we go down here, for instance, we can go into sport. We also have snow. We have eco, normal, and, well, let's go into sport again. And we can also change the sound of the engine. So we can go into let's make it a little bit louder, you can hear. Actually doesn't sound too bad in my opinion. That's a pretty cool sound. Let's slow down a little bit just so we can hear how that sounds a little bit more. I mean, it's going to get annoying after a time, but it's okay. I personally wouldn't put it on, but you can have that. Sport mode is just going to give you a little bit more direct feeling in the steering wheel. You can definitely feel the difference between this and if we go into the normal mode. This just wobbles a little bit more and just feels a little less, well, direct. I personally like a direct feedback, but sport mode is obviously going to deplate the energy or the range a lot more. So when driving in the city here, we can also listen a little bit to the road noise and in general how the car feels. It feels, well, the suspension is okay. I wouldn't say it's the greatest. You can definitely feel it wobbles around a little bit, but it's still going to give you a fairly comfortable driving experience. And the noises, it's not the best isolated car that I've driven, but it's also not bad. You'd expect something like this at the price range that we are currently at. And tire noise, really don't have much tire noise, and because it's an electric car, you obviously don't have an engine noise, which is nice. You could theoretically do that. You can increase the sound of it, but a fairly relaxed experience in here, and with the seats as well, they feel fairly comfortable. And let's a little bit more bumpy roads here. Yeah, suspension's not bad. Feels fairly decent. Another thing that's actually fairly nice about the Hyundai Kona is that you have 8 years of guarantee or warranty, and you also don't have any limit on the kilometers that you can drive in those 8 years, which is nice. If you get the hybrid or the combustion engine, that's going to be down to 5 years, but still, that is fairly nice. And also, if you're in Germany until the end of the year, if you buy the car until the end of the year, you still get the full premium even if you register the car next year. So a little bit of risk that Hyundai is taking there, which you don't get on many other manufacturers. Even I actually don't know any manufacturer that does that. So what's my final conclusion on the Hyundai Kona. The price has obviously gone up a lot. The battery size has gone up as well. So if you are considering buying this car, most of the people that buy this car are going to opt for the bigger battery, and that's going to start at around 47,190 euros, which is a fairly decent amount of money. That is obviously in Germany with the 4,500 euros that you get a decrease in there. You get a lot more storage space. The car is going to be a little bit longer, so a little bit more comfort in there as well. But in general, I personally really like the car. It's a well-made car, and hopefully Hyundai is going to continue making these wonderful cars. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Welcome back. Hopefully you like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.